Deixando a banda panflou, uma boboca mais que mim, aquele que o tem que me entende, o cu da manca ninguém.
Studies show that the climate will affect cities. It is necessary to create conditions to adapt, improve and prevent this possible hazard. For that, it is important to make an evaluation of the local area and the vulnerability that will come. Only then can you effectively plan climate change adaptation. Our study investigated the effect of climate change and the vulnerability of the population in the state of Rio de Janeiro. We compared the vulnerability of each of the 92 counties in the state so that they could be compared accordingly. We did this to collect indicators where we identified the environmental, social, and health vulnerability of that population. It was the Environmental Secretary of State that requested this study. For some time, they had been implementing an adaptation policy and indication of climate change in the state of Rio de Janeiro. They understood that to prepare a good plan for practices and adaptation policies, it is important to evaluate the vulnerability of the local populations first. Our vulnerability indicator considered health, environment, and social economics. In health, we considered the diseases that have greater incidence in the state of Rio de Janeiro and that are influenced by climate variation, such as dengue fever, infant mortality, and others. In terms of socioeconomics, we considered the income of the population. We considered the way people live, whether they have on-site sanitation, if houses are made out of bricks, and if units are multidimensional. We investigated whether the residents lived in buildings or houses, and if they had access to the local area. Of course, it is also very important to note the education and formation of young people within this indicator, because they are the ones that will be acting in the future to reduce vulnerability. And thirdly, we considered the environment. For example, in the city of Rio de Janeiro, we rated vulnerability according to the existence of the coastal line, the vegetation, biodiversity, and deaths due to extreme hydrometeorological events. These were the main indicators, but they may vary between locations. Indeed, they are specific to the location. We identified the municipalities that are most vulnerable to climate change. In the case of Rio de Janeiro, we found that Campos do Goyacazes was more vulnerable, and Búzios was less vulnerable. With this knowledge, there is the possibility of planning improved forms of adaptation at the state and city level. We presented the results to Environmental Secretary of State. In the meeting, there were various actors present: managers, academics, non-governmental organizations, and representatives of local legislation. After this meeting, the Secretary presented the results to the various cities in the state. We now hope that they are implementing adaptation actions based on our work. Major challenges included concerns about having adequate information, a robust database, and data that is scientifically accepted by the government. Also, we did not carry out primary research. We used data that was already in existence, some of which was already dated. Another challenge was the way in which we presented the results of the study. As I said, we presented the study in a meeting with the Environmental Secretary of State, but we did not make individual presentations to each of the 92 counties. This could mean that the results did not have the highest impact possible. Our presentations had an academic slant because we are from academia. So we realized that we need to find a way of disclosing the results in a way that is useful for the whole population. The next steps of our work are, as I said, thinking about how to disclose the results in a way that is useful and applicable for the entire population. Before anything else, we must update the information. We presented the results in 2011 and have since had census carried out by IBGE, Brazilian Institute of Geography and Statistics. We are now updating our study with the results of the census by IBGE. With this updated information, we will then disclose the results to society. Our first presentation was attended by the Secretary of Climate Change for the city of Rio de Janeiro. He thought that this work would be very useful to plan the actions of adaptation in the city. This work has been requested, and we are now in discussions about how to enable it.